Hey, it's Jeff. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you all my favorite houseplants that I currently have in my collection. I did want to title this my favorite houseplants for August, but with today being September 1st, I lost track of time. And I couldn't get this done just because we were getting ready for kids going back to school, all kind of stuff. We had a dentist appointment, and yeah, I still work a full-time job. So unfortunately, today is September 1st, like I said, and I'm going to run through. But regardless of what the title ends up saying, these are my favorite houseplants that I am currently enjoying. And I'm going to start off with this absolutely beautiful alocasia mirrorface, or it's also known as the sinuata. This one has actually been pretty surprising in regards to how it grows. I got it as like one stem, one little plant, and I think I paid maybe $25. I think it was $24.99. And this one has surprised me because usually when you bring an alocasia home, the conditions change from where you purchased it from, whether it's a plant store or greenhouse, to your house conditions. It really hasn't struggled at all for me. It's actually done exceptionally well. I have it upstairs in my living room on my plant shelf. It's just off to the side of a south-facing window. So it gets a little bit of morning direct sunlight, but kind of that bright light throughout the day. And it is now, I'm just looking at it, it has 4 separate stems, and I just noticed it has a few little bulbs poking through the soil. So this one, it really hasn't struggled at all. It's looked healthy the entire time, and I love that it has a little bit of a darker veination in the leaves, and the kind of the, I don't know, the rest of it is kind of a lighter green. It is super glossy. It always looks really shiny. I just sprayed it off this morning, but I just love the way this one looks. I'm going to cut it up, and I'm going to put one of them downstairs here under my Soltech Solutions aspect grow light. My plants are just loving that, grow, or the plants on planks, and I put some other alocasias and other plants there, so they're loving the light. I'm going to take these bulbs and I'm going to plant them in some soil. Actually, I'm going to do it right now. Got my pruning shears. You can see right here this little bulb poking through, and there's another one that's sprouting down in the side. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm just going to snip these off and see what comes of this plant. Okay, I'm just going to cut this back a little bit more. So I got these 2 tiny little bulbs. I'm going to plant these. Don't know what's going to happen, but hopefully they grow into another full plant. But yeah, this one just looks healthy all the time. It's getting a couple little yellow leaves at the bottom. These are older ones, so as they're pushing out new growth, it looks like they're all pushing out new growth. As we're getting into fall, the temperatures here where I am in the prairies in Canada, it's still really hot. I think it's gonna be like 32 or 33 degrees today. With that fall season and hot temperatures, we're pretty susceptible to thrips around here. So they can blow in through the doors and windows, they can come on your clothes. So I have to watch my plants closely for yellowing leaves. I had a couple suspicious ones that I've pulled, which I'll talk about in maybe another time, but yeah, what a gorgeous plant this one is. This is my philodendron verrucosum. It's actually been a wish list plant of mine for quite some time, but they were fairly expensive up until this year. You can basically find these in specialty plant shops now for a pretty decent price, like 40, 50 bucks kind of thing, whereas a couple of years ago they were probably over $100, depending on the size of the plant. I did put mine on a plank to size up the leaves, and you can see they are getting quite a bit larger with each new leaf. Disregard or don't pay attention to these smaller ones because, well, just look how much they've sized up from this to this since having it on the plank. I actually struggled with this one a little bit in regards to the watering, just because I have placed it in a larger clear orchid pot, and I didn't want to overwater it, but it turns out that I was most likely underwatering it, so I got a few of these lower crispy leaves, but that's okay. I've kind of figured out the watering routine for this plant, and you can see the newest leaves are just absolutely gorgeous. A couple of years ago, a lot of my philodendrons, they had thrips. I didn't really notice it until it was too late, so all my philodendron micans, my Brazil, lemon lime philodendron, like all those, I basically had to throw them out just because it had quite a bad infestation, some of my peperomias as well. So I didn't really buy philodendrons for a little while, but like I said, this was a wish list plant of mine, and it came up on, I think I got this one from North Shore Tropicals, and I am so happy that I bought this one. And it's kind of spiraled into more rare, uncommon philodendrons, which I'll probably be showing you a couple more here throughout the video. I just go through my collection and just pick out ones that I've been enjoying for the last little while. And this is definitely one of them. And I'm so happy that it is sizing up with each new leaf on these planks. I'm loving the plants on planks, and I think it looks pretty cool. Very easy maintenance. I don't have to deal with moss or anything like that. And I just sprayed it down. But when I water the plant, what I do is I will spray the plank here. The water will run down into the soil. It just helps the plant anchor itself to the plank, but it also obtains the nutrients and moisture from those aerial roots as well. So everything's been doing really good with this, this specific one on the plank. And yeah, I can't get over these leaves. It's like a very lime green veination, and the back of the leaves are just as beautiful as the front. It's absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, if this has been a wish list plant of yours, go check your like little specialty plant shops. They're not in any big box stores, but I think you can get them for a pretty decent price now, at least here in Canada. Definitely have come down in price. This is probably my favorite philodendron that I have in my collection right now. I got a few, but this is definitely one of my favorites. This next one, I'm going to switch it up and show you a Hoya. This is the Hoya callistophylla. This is one of my favorite Hoyas. Another one is the Hoya pottsii that I just absolutely love. Nothing compares to these leaves. They look like crocodile skin. They're just so unique, and I like to spray down my plants before I show them, just so you're not seeing like a dusty, dirty plant. But when you spray this with water, it just amplifies the veination on this plant. Just absolutely gorgeous. Just like most of my other Hoyas that I have in my collection, or that I've grown, it really didn't do much for about the first year or so, and then I've had this one for, I want to say maybe 2.5 years now, and it just kind of exploded with growth. I have now had to extend the trellis that I have it on. I now have 2 trellises, and it's flowered a number of times for me as well. I thought this one would be a really slow grower, but yeah, it keeps pushing out new growth. Here's another runner. Got this annoying stem in the way, but it's going to be pushing out some new leaves here again. And yeah, it just finished flowering not too long ago. I think I have some pictures of the flowers on my Instagram. I'll see if I can find it and leave it in here as well. But yeah, easily one of my favorite Hoyas, just for the leaves alone. It's just an absolutely gorgeous plant. I'm not too sure if this is the narrow form. I know there's a few different varieties of this one. I'm not too sure which one I have. And yeah, it always does exceptionally well for me. This one I have upstairs on my plant table. The thing about this one, and I thought it was going to be a really slow growing Hoya, is because it has woody stems. I thought this was going to be a fairly slow growing plant. It doesn't have like the really soft green stems like you would see as an example, like this Hoya polynera. It's got a nice kind of soft fleshy stem, whereas this one, it's just a woody stem, which is, I don't know, I think it looks pretty cool in contrast to the green leaves. Now I'm just rambling. I don't have any agenda for these videos. Basically just pick a plant and I start talking about it. Just like the rest of my Hoyas, I let this one dry out completely. I water it when the soil is absolutely bone dry. That's kind of my little secret with getting these to flower as well. You just want to stress the plant out just a little bit. Maybe give it a little bit more light, maybe water a little bit less. That basically just tells the plant it needs to flower and reproduce, just because the conditions aren't optimal. This likes the location that it's in. I let it get bone dry and then I give it some water, and it continuously puts out flowers. You can see there is a peduncle right here. It's flowered a few times. There's a couple at the back. There's one right here. There's one here, and there's another one right back there. It has a few areas, and there's just a small little tiny one just right up in there. So it has a few different areas where it does flower, and I absolutely love this one. This next one is a golden pothos, and I absolutely love this one because this is my little plants on planks experiment. I got a whole wall of plants on planks. You can see how much the leaves have sized up from this smallest, the most juvenile one, this little guy, up to this size of leaf. So clearly this plant is absolutely loving the plank. Just like with my philodendron verrucosum, I water the plank and I let the water drip down into the pot here. It's a nice, well, this one's just a regular tropical mix, but for most of my aeroids I use a really well-draining aeroid soil mixture, so lots of like orchid bark, charcoal, perlite, a little bit of soil just so it's really well draining. This is in just a tropical plant mix with some perlite. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'm absolutely loving these larger leaves, and yeah, it's just it's a cool project that I'm working on. I want this entire wall to be filled with large leaves, and as they grow up the plank, gotta get you back, then I will either extend, well, I don't think I can extend the pole there, but I plan on propagating it, air layering it, depending on the aerial root system that it has on it, and then I'm just going to take it off and put it in another pot and just have it continuously growing up new planks and achieving those large massive leaves. I know there's different methods out there. You can use moss poles, there's coco coir, I use a couple on burlap, but I'm really loving these planks or wood planks. But this one, it's really exciting to me, and I'm going to show you the aerial roots on this one. I have 3 cuttings in here, and all I did was just apply these little plant Velcro things. And look at this, like this chunky root, that's attached onto the plank. And then look at all these little aerial roots that they not only anchor the plant, but they search out moisture and that sort of thing. So I added another plant tie up here. You can see that aerial root has already latched on. So it, I don't know how it does it, but it trains itself. I didn't really have to do anything other than just apply it to the back of the plank. And these roots, they're just something else. This one's really taken off. I gotta maybe, well, that's okay. It's actually taken a hold or anchored on right up there as well. So this is such an awesome little project. Even though this is a really common houseplant, this is the golden pothos, the Epiprenum aureum, and I just love the way this looks as it's growing up the plank. Super easy project. There's no mess to it. I don't have to clean up moss, or I don't have to make a moss pool or anything like that. And the thing that made me try these planks is actually the cost of moss poles itself. The material, like the casing, I'm sure it's not that much, but if you buy sphagnum moss in large amounts, it gets quite pricey. So I use, this is pine, but I've been using cedar planks for all my new projects just because cedar is pretty much rot resistant. And yeah, I might have another kind of exciting video coming down the road about a different type of wood plank, so stay tuned for that. Might be a couple months, but yeah, stay tuned for kind of a different wood plank video. This is the spray bottle that I use. I fill it with filtered tap water, and then I just use this little spray wand and spray down the, like I said, the front of the plank, let it run down into the soil. I have them in a little saucer, and then if there's any excess water in the saucer, then I'll just empty that out. But yeah, I'll probably water, mist the back of the plank maybe every couple days, and when the soil is dry, then I will give it a good soaking. But in regards to maintenance and care, it's not really any different than if you had this pothos just in a regular pot as a trailing plant. Just water it when it's dry. Yeah, don't let the soil stay too wet, otherwise you'll get root rot. Yeah, let it dry out, mist the back of the plank. It's super easy, and I highly recommend these planks. And again, this is just my perspective or my experience with it. Other people may have tried this and didn't like it. They may prefer the moss poles, but in my experience so far, this is the method that I want to use for my larger leaves. I do have some of those plastic moss pole type things, which I do want to try one plant in moss just to kind of compare. I've never really grown anything like on a moss pole before, and the only reason for that is just from the cost. I spend enough on plants. Plant accessories is a whole nother thing. It can get quite expensive if you're using sphagnum moss as a growing medium. Okay, so I'm going to show you some more plants. This cool looking leaf is the anthurium pedatoradiatum. I've had this one for a few months now, and this is the newest leaf as of a couple weeks ago. Here is the juvenile form or shape of the leaf, and as it matures and as it grows, it gets these like finger-like leaves, almost like a palm or like a fan. So it's such a cool looking leaf in its mature form. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of a more mature plant, and I'll leave it up in the top corner if I can. But I've been kind of on an anthurium and philodendron kick lately, so most of my new houseplants I've been buying are anthuriums. Anthuriums made me pretty nervous when I first started buying them, just because I didn't quite know how to water it or care for it. So a lot of the new leaves were coming out deformed, damaged. They had a little bit of yellowing. This one has a little bit of yellowing on the leaves here. I think it was probably more from like shipping damage. But the newest leaf is just flawless. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I attribute that to kind of figuring out what they need in regards to soil. So I use a really chunky aroid mixture, so lots of like orchid bark, perlite, charcoal, that kind of stuff. And I actually use terracotta for all of my anthuriums, and I find that combination between the soil, the pot, and then I top dress with sphagnum moss. That just holds in kind of the right amount of moisture. And the way I tell it when it needs to be watered is when the moss gets really crispy. So it's still a little bit spongy. It's not wet or soaking, but it's still a little bit spongy. So I know this one does not need any water yet, but once it gets crispy on top, then I know the soil is probably pretty dry underneath. So you can check the soil, but most times I just use the sphagnum moss on top as a way to determine whether the plant needs water or not. So with that kind of combination between the soil, pot, and the sphagnum moss, all of my anthuriums have been doing really well. All the new leaves have been coming out as they should. Downstairs here, it's probably around, well, I'll show you. 63% right now is what it is downstairs. I'm not running any humidifiers or anything like that, but I don't really notice like a huge difference when the humidity is lower. Pardon me. Obviously these plants will do better with higher humidity, but I keep it around kind of that 60% downstairs, and they do really well. I'm really excited about the next leaf after this one because it should size up a little bit larger, but also it should get, I'm hoping, more of these bifurcations, I guess. So I want those finger-like leaves on the next newest ones, but this is a cool one. If you can find this one, this is a neat plant. As it grows and matures, it goes from these kind of just not boring leaves, but it's neat to see the transition from the heart shape to the finger-like leaves. This one is my philodendron El Choco Red. I've had this one for about a month. It was part of a plant mail video that I got from Aroid Shop. They're an online company in Quebec, and this one's actually done really well transitioning to my home here. It is in kind of like a sphagnum moss coco coir mix, which eventually I'll have to take it out. I want it in a nice chunky aroid soil. Also, I'm going to put it up on a moss pole as well, or sorry, one of the planks or something like that. But I just love the way the leaves look. Like, they are so soft. They're not really velvety. It almost feels maybe a little bit velvety. But the petiole, like the stem, it's got these little bumps. It almost looks like little hairs on it. The leaf shape and color, the back of the leaf, just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm really happy I was able to get one of these. I think I paid $100 for this one. So I'm pretty happy with this plant overall. And I just have it on the floor over here. It gets, well, all these plants get artificial light from grow lights, but this is an absolutely beautiful one. I would watch, or I do watch, Wild Fern on YouTube, and I would always see her El Choco Red, and I thought it was just an absolutely gorgeous philodendron. I had to buy it, and so far it's doing really good. I'm not going to mess with the growing medium right now just because it is, or it looks like it will be getting a new leaf here soon. Got a new growth point poking up through there. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of leave this one alone for a little bit, see what this new leaf looks like. Might size up the pot a little bit, put it in a nice aroid mixture, and let it or train it to grow up on a plank. The last two plants I'm going to show together, this is the alocasia regal shield. This was a small little cutting off of a much larger plant that I have outside. I just sliced off a little growth. So basically I propagated it by division, and it's now growing into a cute little alocasia. And again, it's just under my Soltech Solutions grow light. It absolutely loves it. It's putting out a new growth point. Oh geez, that's my chair. The seat keeps falling off. So yeah, it's getting a new growth point. These leaves are just beautiful. Front is kind of a darker green with kind of the lime green veination, but the backside is almost like a purple. It's such a stunning plant. I'm looking forward to this one growing into a large alocasia. Really easy to care for so far. I just don't let the soil dry out. It's just in a small little plastic pot inside of a terracotta just for now. But yeah, this is such a beautiful plant. I know Home Depot, like all those big box stores as well as specialty plant shops, they sell the Regal Shield, and you can probably even find these on like Facebook Marketplace and that kind of thing. The next one here is such a cool looking plant. This is the colocasia mojito, and I just absolutely love the, whoops, keep it nice and still here, the pattern on the leaves. This one I did have outside. I didn't want to cut it back for the winter and store the bulbs. So what I did is, because there's so many bugs outside, I cut off all the leaves. This is the newest leaf since having it inside, and it's already gotten a new leaf here, and it's getting another one that's starting to unfurl. So again, this one likes that consistent bright light from the grow light, the aspect grow light, and it's done really well. Like, it's gotten 3 leaves within the span of maybe a couple weeks since I've had it in the house, but I just like the speckled pattern, and even the stem. Like, the stem is almost like a dark and light purple. It's just it's such a unique looking plant. If you are able to find one of these, highly recommend getting it. It's really easy. I'm curious to see how many leaves it's going to get on the stem itself. Some varieties of like the alocasia, the colocasia, and even the xanthosoma, they might only get like 2 or 3 leaves at one time, whereas some they might get a little bit like maybe kind of that 3 to 5 leaves. So I'm curious to see what this mojito ends up getting in regards to the amount of leaves. So yeah, I think that's gonna be pretty much it for all the plants that I'm gonna show you guys today. These are the ones that I'm really enjoying. I hope you liked this video. If you're new to the channel and you wanna see more houseplant content, please subscribe for more houseplant videos. Otherwise, thanks to everyone that watches my videos, subscribes, comments, all that kind of stuff. I really appreciate the support. Thanks again, take care, bye.